Thank you. Well, as always, it's a real pleasure to be able to join you and to celebrate our award winners. I'm slightly frightened by the concept that it's already my 16th.
The whispers had already been heard in Windsor's passageways. They have endured decades of treachery, scandal, and even abdication. However, it is extremely uncommon for a member of the royal family to be all but excommunicated by one of their own. Not just any royal, Princess Anne. For decades, the stoic, no-nonsense daughter of Queen Elizabeth II has remained silent during the family's most embarrassing moments. Charles' romance with Camilla, Diana's public anguish, Meghan and Harry's exile, and even Andrew's shame. What about this time? She didn't just talk, she acted. Camilla, the queen consort in name but never in spirit, is now the subject of a dramatic and very personal ban, a lifetime exclusion imposed by Princess Anne herself, rather than palace personnel or public relations gurus. And what caused the quiet but seismic royal earthquake? An argument with Prince William was so severe that staff workers were allegedly forced to leave the room. Multiple palace sources now believe that the queen consort crossed a line with a statement that was too personal, harsh, and deliberate. One source described it as a time when Camilla forgot her place and William reminded her of it. Another simply stated, "It was the closest I've ever seen Prince William come to walking out of the monarchy entirely." But what did Camilla say that sparked such outrage? And why did Anne, who has withstood storms far larger than a verbal disagreement, feel now was the time to draw the line? Was it about power? Was it about legacy? Or was it about something far more raw? A long-held anger of a woman who has repeatedly attempted to alter Princess Diana's legacy. Behind closed doors, titles change, alliances move, and stealthy revolts begin. One thing is clear, Camilla, William, and Anne's fury was not an isolated incident. Years of simmering anxiety culminated in an explosion in plain daylight. For the first time, we can understand what transpired in that room and why Camilla may not be invited back. The royal family has long taken delight in creating the idea of unity, stoic grins, scripted appearances, and an unspoken understanding to resolve problems behind golden doors. But since Queen Elizabeth's death, the seams have begun to fray. Many believe it all began when Camilla's shadow extended longer than anyone imagined. Even before the tragic Windsor explosion, insiders observed a disturbing change. Events that had previously focused on the younger royals, William, Kate, and their children, began to feature Camilla more prominently. She was no longer only attending engagements. She spoke first, standing in the center. "I host events on my own." The optics were planned, and Prince William and Princess Kate were aware of them. According to numerous top advisors, tensions began to boil months ago while arranging a high-profile royal charity banquet. Kate painstakingly prepped Princess Charlotte for her first formal debut. But only days before the event, Camilla allegedly raised concerns about the optics of putting a child front and center. That worry, albeit disguised as diplomacy, was taken by many as a planned slap at Kate's expanding prominence through her children. William was furious. Behind the scenes, he described the decision as completely tone-deaf, claiming that his daughter deserved her proper position in the royal story. However, under pressure to maintain peace amongst factions, the palace secretly canceled Charlotte's presence entirely. It was a stealthy betrayal that exacerbated the already shaky family dynamic. But Camilla did not stop there. During a royal succession optics briefing, an official conference about how to visually frame the monarchy's future, Camilla allegedly made an offhand remark about young heirs needing more time to mature before being taken seriously. She was, of course, referring to Prince George. Kate, who was present, maintained silence. What about William? He allegedly tightened his teeth and offered a single nod before exiting the room abruptly. Insiders believe the moment signaled the beginning of the end. Then came the final spark. During a private lunch with Camilla, King Charles, and a few senior aides, the Queen Consort is said to have made yet another passive-aggressive jab. Perhaps if William spent less time worrying about photo ops and more time preparing for actual leadership, we'd all rest easier. The remark was not kept private for long. When word reached William, something changed. It was no longer about titles, responsibilities, or image. This was personal. It was about legacy, about his mother, about his wife, about his children. Camilla had crossed all 3 lines in one move. Even Princess Anne, who had hitherto stayed mainly neutral, began to back down. She was known to quietly roll her eyes at Camilla's rising authority, but now she was beginning to listen, truly listen, to what William and Kate were saying behind closed doors, because this wasn't simply a family dispute anymore. This was a royal collision course. Camilla was driving toward a wall she would not notice until it was too late. For a family accustomed to stillness, the yelling that resonated around Windsor Castle that evening was deafening. It happened behind the massive oak doors of the Crimson Drawing Room, which is often used for secret talks between monarchs and their most trusted advisors. It appeared to be a straightforward conversation between King Charles, Camilla, and Prince William concerning the autumn royal agenda. From what happened was everything ordinary. According to 2 staff members stationed outside the room, the talk started pleasantly, polite, even polite. But after 5 minutes, voices began to rise, and not just any sounds. Camilla's harsh, clipped tone was unmistakable, followed by William's unusually aggressive response. Then came the moment that changed everything. Camilla allegedly stated in front of the king and 2 top advisors, "You have always had your mother's disposition, William. Emotional, unstable. It is not how kings are created." Silence. Then there was wrath. According to others there, William stood up quickly, causing his chair to scrape noisily on the marble floor. His cheeks reddened and hands tensed. Then, clearly audible down the corridor, "Don't you ever speak about my mother like that again." He wasn't done. "You cannot alter the past. You cannot delete her. Not while I am here. Not with her grandchildren watching." Camilla, apparently taken aback, tried to wave it off. "William, I didn't mean—" But William interrupted her. "No, you meant every word, and you've meant it for 20 years. Charles apparently intervened, attempting to calm things down, but his efforts only infuriated William further. "Father, is this what you wanted? A split family? You watched her suffer, and now you allow this to continue?" The air became thick. Princess Anne had arrived, and all eyes moved to the door that had just opened. Uninvited, unscheduled, she was completely aware of what she was about to step into. She stood calmly for a minute, soaking in the scenery. Then, with her mother's typical bluntness, she turned to Camilla and plainly asked, "What were you saying to him?" Camilla faltered. "It was taken out of context." Anne did not blink. "You have no framework to talk about Diana. None. And if you have forgotten, let me remind you that she earned her position in our family. You purchased yours." There was a pause. Then Anne stared at William. "Do you want her gone?" William did not respond straight away, but the expression in his eyes said everything. He was not asking for a penalty. He demanded a reckoning. Anne nodded once, quiet, resolved. "Then it's done." She walked out. Camilla, surprised and bewildered, stayed behind with Charles, who said nothing. What began as a meeting ended with an ultimatum, and Anne, the most revered royal in the family, had just established a boundary that no one, not even the king, would dare to cross. Because at that moment, a message was delivered. This family may accept controversy. However, it will not allow the ruin of Diana's legacy. Princess Anne isn't renowned for drama. She is the palace's steel spine, unshakable, calm, and notably blunt. But underneath that tranquil appearance is a memory sharper than any sword. Anne recalls every detail about Camilla. Long before Camilla was crowned queen consort, she was the lady in the background, the mistress whose presence strained Anne's already strained relationship with her brother Charles. Anne, who was deeply committed to tradition and passionately protective of the monarchy's dignity, never completely embraced Camilla as a member of the inner royal circle. Camilla was a hazardous exception to the rule, reminding her that scandal might be normalized if you waited long enough and smiled big enough. Camilla did wait. Years, decades even. Anne, who had given up her own reputation to shun the spotlight, watched as Camilla's name was gradually cleared in the public. She clenched her teeth when Camilla began attending formal occasions. She nodded graciously when royal attendants started referring to her as Her Royal Highness, but she never forgot what had happened before. Insiders claim Anne's pivotal moment occurred years ago, at a private dinner following one of Queen Elizabeth's health concerns. The Queen, exhausted yet alert, was surrounded by her children. Camilla supposedly leaned over at a quiet time and commented, "When she goes, everything changes." Anne locked eyes with her across the table and, according to one guest, never spoke to Camilla again that evening. That statement stuck with her, and so did every snub. Every time Camilla took Diana's place, and every time Camilla's name appeared in headlines with the word Queen next to it. Anne regarded it all as a gradual, organized campaign, and she refused to take part. Anne made her position clear over time by her deeds rather than her words. A chilly shoulder during a balcony appearance, a seat change during an engagement. Camilla's invitation to join a charity board was canceled. Royal insiders frequently quipped that Anne didn't need to raise her voice since she could turn someone off with a single glance. But when she came into that chamber at Windsor and saw William, her nephew, the future king, Diana's son, looking genuinely scared, something broke. All those years of patience, holding her tongue, and tolerating a lady she thought never deserved her position, gone. And it wasn't only about William, it was about everything. Later that evening, Anne allegedly issued a formal request to palace servants that Camilla be politely omitted from the guest list for 3 future royal events: Balmoral's annual retreat, the Sandringham Christmas gathering, and most importantly, the Order of the Garter ceremony. That was hardly a minor act in royal terms. The Order of the Garter is sacrosanct. It has been around for centuries and is rich in symbolism. Excluding the Queen Consort from its ceremonial roster sent a clear message: you are not welcome here. And Anne wasn't done. Behind closed doors, she allegedly spoke with the royal household's chief of etiquette and stated clearly, "If Camilla attends, I do not." That was the moment the monarchs realized Anne wasn't just making a point. This was Anne taking a stand. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has always played the long game. Where others explode, she withdraws. She plans where others merely pose. But don't confuse Kate Middleton's quiet for weakness. She's perfected the art of power without speaking. Insiders claim Camilla not only supported her husband, but also Anne, following the Camilla Williams dispute. Because for years, Camilla's stealthy drive to cement her place at the top of the royal hierarchy has directly undercut Kate's role in the monarchy's future. And what about her children's future? Camilla's rising power within the palace gates has ruffled feathers. But for Kate, the conflict started much earlier, during her first days as William's girlfriend. Camilla, who was still unsure of her place in the firm, allegedly regarded Kate as a commoner who didn't grasp royal procedure, frequently rejecting her as too soft for royal life. Fast forward to now, and that same woman now has the title of Queen Consort, while Camilla regards Kate, arguably the most popular royal since Diana, as a political annoyance. According to one royal assistant, Camilla had a habit of talking over Kate at public events and frequently gave her unsolicited advice in front of staff, reminding them of her seniority. Whereas Kate seldom responded publicly, her mother, Carol Middleton, was less restrained. Following Camilla's scandalous decision to ban the Middleton family from a high-profile garden party commemorating the king's first full year in the reign, the Middletons made it known that they are not invisible. According to family sources, Carol was insulted beyond words, allegedly saying, "If Diana's family is honored, why not ours?" Kate, despite her polite demeanor, revealed her true loyalties. She skipped the following occasion, citing personal family time, but royal observers picked up on the subtext. She was quietly pushing back. Now that Camilla's growing power moves have been uncovered, Kate has found an odd friend in Princess Anne. Behind closed doors, the two ladies are alleged to have become closer in recent months. What started as formal civility has apparently grown into purposeful collaboration. According to one source, Anne encouraged Kate to accompany her at an equestrian charity event that Camilla was also interested in attending, indicating an implicit partnership. Kate did not hesitate. She went. Camilla did not. Later that week, during a private chat in the gardens of Highgrove, Anne allegedly informed Kate, "You handled her far better than I could, but it's time she figured out whose family this truly is." Kate is believed to have responded, "You did what I couldn't." It was a rare moment of honesty, shared frustration, and quiet unity between two women, united not by blood, but by duty, motherhood, and the legacy of Princess Diana, who haunts every royal hall. Kate has not spoken publicly about Camilla since the Windsor affair, but her deeds speak louder than words. Her latest encounters with Anne have been noticeably warmer. Her distancing from Charles and Camilla is increasingly noticeable. Most tellingly, her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, have been seen more frequently with Anne than with their grandpa or step-grandmother. This was more than just a disagreement among family members. It was a power realignment. Kate, with quiet grace, has chosen her side. Throughout the centuries-long history of the British monarchy, scandals, abdications, and even betrayals have shaken the very basis of the crown. But what is happening now, quiet, controlled, and devastatingly personal, feels different. Because this time, the monarchy's opponents are not fighting the struggle. It is being waged from within. Princess Anne's decision to exclude Camilla from royal occasions may not have included an official proclamation or broadcast announcement, but it didn't have to. Her actions spoke loudly. She drew a line that Buckingham Palace has spent years avoiding, one between legacy and ambition, service and self-interest, Diana and Camilla. And the boundary was not drawn in rage, it was drawn in grief. For Anne, it was the ultimate gesture of devotion to her late mother and the woman who should have been queen, Princess Diana. For William, it was a defense of the crown he will one day wear, as well of the future he is creating for George, Charlotte, and Louis. Kate saw it as a long overdue adjustment to a power imbalance that had subtly eroded the dignity of the institution she married into. Meanwhile, Charles, possibly the loneliest king Britain has seen in a generation, is stuck between two realities, the lady he adores and the family he once pledged to protect. But neutrality comes at a cost. For the time being, Charles appears to be paying in silence. Camilla's absence from forthcoming royal engagements has not gone ignored. She is fading from the limelight she worked so hard to achieve for decades. There are no more famous images, no warm public hugs with William.